In the first tape, Doug Naylor explained that all human behavior is driven by the four psychological needs of belonging, gaining power, having fun, and being free. In the second videotape, Doug explained how to work with students in ways that increase their success in school and life by learning to behave responsibly.
What I want to do this afternoon is zero in on helping a person use control theory and reality therapy ideas to help a person overcome problems and make their lives better. And I simply call that success making. So turning problems into progress is what this whole process is all about. And when we remember from the very beginning that what drives our behavior is our own evaluation that things aren't going right for us. Every time that happens, you and I have some kind of a problem that we need to adjust. It kicks our behavior system, and we then need to come up with something new, a different way to go about it to solve the problem and make life better. It's that process I like to think about as success making. We did a lot of thinking about what we needed to do to help kids visualize the whole process of success making. So Robin and I created this marvelous moving ahead machine, which has that Seuss-like quality to it. It's hope, people. That's what it is. I mean, who can look at that and feel bad? You know, it's a marvelous thing. And all you have to do is hop aboard it and walk its steps, and you're on the way. When you're feeling lousy, there's even a good word for it, glumpy. You know, too gloomy and grumpy. It's all that bad feeling. When you're feeling this way, run for the machine. It's a machine going in the direction you want. That's where it's going. That's where it's headed. And people who get in and learn to use the steps make it work. Now, it's the very simple process that we know as the behavior cycle of our mind: goal, plan, action, result. The thinking part of our behavior is goal, plan. The doing part of our behavior is acting, carrying out the idea. Results, again, are feeling parts of our behavior. And of course, we can't do anything with our motor nerves not telling our muscles to contract and expand and do all the things it takes us for our body to move. So we just have 4 posters to put that concept into operation: goal, plan, action, result. Making a good life means deciding what I really want, setting reachable goals, and turning problems into goals to reach. Now, this is the tricky one, you know? Turning problems into goals. Because what we want to say is, I don't want to hurt. The goal is stop the hurt. Stop the discomfort instead of what it's going to be. Let's take a problem all of us have in schools: a cafeteria, the lunchroom, noisy lunchrooms. And everybody seems to have that problem. See, how do you turn a noisy lunchroom into a goal? What do we need? You don't say stop the noise. What do you want? How do you want a lunchroom to be? Tell me how you want a lunchroom to be.
Social atmosphere.
All right. Common social. Anything else?
Well, nutritious, and the kids don't dump out everything they don't like, even though it's good for them.
All right. I think of pleasant, enjoyable. To sit there, to be with people you like to be with, to have a pleasant time to eat food, to make it a sociable setting. Very nice. Okay, so you've got a loud cafeteria that's messy, and kids are raising Cain in. Then what we want to do instead, we convert that problem into the goal, which is we want an orderly, pleasant place in which to enjoy food and companionship. Would that be a reasonable summary of what you were talking about? Okay, now do you see, that's achievable. As long as you got the big, dirty, loud, noisy, disorderly cafeteria, everybody's confused. But the minute you put it down into those terms, pleasant, orderly, companionable environment, that sort of thing, those are all achievable units. And if you do this with your own problems, when you have a problem, state how you'd like things rather than how they are, turn it into a condition that you want, you'll instantly feel your body begin to relax. That tightness that goes along with it suddenly starts to dispel because you've stated something that's achievable. That's the whole goal. We're not trying to stop problems, we're trying to create good life. And that's what you want to talk about with the kids. Don't stop being loud. Create a pleasant place to be. Be part of a pleasant place. See, and the kids need to get in and talk about this too. So this is the real touchy one here, and it takes practice, people, to do this. It takes practice with the kids in your classroom. When there's a problem, just stop right there and say, okay, things are not going the way we'd like them to. How would we like them to be going? And let them talk about that, and then formalize a goal statement, just like I did with you. Got ideas, and then I said, well, would it be reasonable to say? And then I made my statement about the cafeteria, and you said, yeah. That's a good thing. Then we could write that out. We've got our goal done. So it's always taking the problem, changing it into what you'd rather have life be like relative to that situation. Cafeteria, lineup of kids going to the library, auditorium behavior, behavior on the bus, whatever it would be, and talking about that and turning it into a goal. Tremendous thinking process correlates in your mind to getting the things that you really want. All right? That's step one. Step two is making a plan, right? The plan. Plan is another part of the thinking process. It's a thinking behavior. This is when I think about how to get what I really want. What are we going to have to do in our cafeteria to make it a pleasant place for us to eat? What do we want?
Reduce the noise.
All right. We want it quieter. And
Keep it clean.
all right.
We want people sitting down and not running around.
Okay.
Order.
All right. We're beginning to tick off the specific parts of the plan. These are the elements that we want to change in order to produce this. We want these things to happen so our cafeteria will be ready. Now, you're the ones that said it. So then we need to talk about how we're going to do it. How are we going to go about producing an environment where kids are willing to be not so loud? In terms of getting kids to use the cafeteria with less noise, don't they have to say it'll be a pleasanter place when they do that? So we have to talk about them, with them, about that idea. And then we say, now how do we do that? We're still planning. We're still thinking about how we're going to carry this thing out. We said we want it quiet. That means we have to be able to enjoy ourselves with less noise. Now, how are we going to do that less noise? What are we going to do?
Establish rules.
All right, we can talk about keep our voices down. Some places say things like, let's make the cafeteria a place where we use a 12-inch voice. Yes,
Have
Elise.
a roving reinforcer, a direct, have whoever's lunchroom supervisor have maybe a statue or a flag or some symbol that would indicate this table is keeping within the framework, so that would be an immediate reinforcement of a positive model rather than a negative.
Sure. I mean, that's glue, isn't it? When you're part of a crowd and the noise level starts to rise, you're not trying to be noisy, you're just trying to be heard. So you talk a little louder, and then somebody else talks a little louder, and then somebody else talks a little louder. And pretty soon we have loud levels going on all over the place. Yes, Marie, you were...
Yes, I have difficulty with anything quantitative that doesn't have a standard to measure it by. And if you say louder or softer or too much noise, then how much is much? If you talk loud enough so that everyone who should hear what you are saying can hear what you are saying, and that anyone who is not to be included in your conversation does not hear what you're saying, then you've got an accurate measure of how loud is good amount of noise, and it applies to all situations.
So what are we gonna do? How are we gonna...
Use the signal.
It could rather be what are we going to do when the kids are quiet, and give the kids opportunities to grow with their classes and to become unified in their own classes and have some sort of a classroom goal.
All right. A recognition factor
Yes.
for doing a good job?
Yes.
Wouldn't we have kids at the end of the lunch period say, well, how do you think you did in the lunch period today? So that we constantly become more and more aware. See, what we're doing is we're forcing a result when we ask for an evaluation. We've been through the lunch period, now let's think about the lunch period. And you think about it in its parts. You were in a line, you got your food, you came to your lunch table, you sat there and ate, you finished your food, and you took your tray out and left the cafeteria. Let's think about each one of those periods of time. How did you do in that period of time? So kids begin to evaluate themselves in this, because we're talking about kids being responsible, not us imposing responsibility on them, giving them recognition for being responsible people, but at the same time asking them to be thoughtful for themselves about this. The plan is what we're going to do and how we're going to get it done. Really definite. Lay it out, how you're going to get it done. Then the action is the whole, which I should put up, shouldn't I? The action sign. The action sign is then, you know, we're into kids being on their own at that time. They're going to do their action along the way. You know, this is doing behavior. They're going to carry it out. If we haven't done good work here and here, this is going to be bad. And usually we just, as I said earlier, we stop right. We say, don't, stop, don't do that anymore. And dealing with the action, but we haven't got back to where the kid can really intelligently deal with it, or the staff. Okay? So we keep getting back into goal, plan, action, result. Remember, at this point, you're on your own. I'm on my own. The youngster's on his own. We're into carrying out what we've said. And then we're going to measure the result of it and see how it goes. Measuring results, very simply, with our emotional system. We always do that. Now, in our cafeteria, let's take that model again and let's look at it and say, in our cafeteria, how are we going to measure that it is a quieter place? Are we, the adults, going to determine whether it's quiet enough? Are we going to get some kids involved in thinking through that?
I think if they did the planning and if they put it into action, then I think they should be the ones to determine.
See, what business and industry are coming to now is that the people who do the work at the place really have the best opportunity to make the work go better. They're the ones that do the work. And my question dealt with that, and Joe fed it back. The kids are doing the work. In school, more and more what we're finding is that teachers are managers. They manage a learning environment. The hands-on work is done by the kids. If we want that work to improve, you and I shouldn't be doing all the goal, plan, action, all the goaling and planning, I mean. We need to be doing it with them. Now, I've brought you some materials that convert this into a hands-on thing with a youngster, or you could do it with a group of youngsters. If you'll take the My Goal folder and see if you see goal, plan, action, result in that. All right? Now, if you look at the back side of the folder cover, what does it say at the top of that page?
Tracking.
Yeah, success making. I mean, that's the goal. We want to be better at doing what we're doing. That's a bar graph on the back page. Kids can color that in. They can give themselves some sort of a point equivalent. See, we want kids to be better at doing things. They've got to evaluate themselves, not us evaluate them all the time. So this is a self-evaluation form. Of course it's done with our help. We give them more information to use. I'm going to ask you to pair up as people, and we're going to take homework as a problem. I'm not doing my homework, all right? Now, I want one of you to be the kid not doing the homework, and the other one to be the helper, the teacher, helping a kid make a personal plan to do homework. And I want you to use as much as you can of what we've done and talked about today to get the kid to understand that homework is power building. I'm going to limit you to 5 minutes. So you can't go on forever. Do as much as you can with your partner in 5 minutes, and just pair up. Let's see, maybe.
But the homework basically just asks me to figure out answers to questions like, you know, if you came to a new city.
Well, if you're just using homework as practice, would you need someone to help you?
But just for 15 minutes?
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, you have just on the clock right up here at the top.
Well, let me just hear. Let me hear from the first student. How did the process feel with you? I'd like to have your really very straightforward responses to that. I'm not asking to have you say, "Oh, it felt wonderful." I want to know how you reacted to somebody talking with you that way.
And we had an issue about the homework being boring and not challenging, and which is an issue that I happen to have sometimes with stuff that gets sent home.
Sure.
And so we talked about that, and she dealt with that. She valued my point of view. I still had to do what was expected of the other kids, but I was allowed some latitude.
All right. Anybody else?
I think you feel sort of uncomfortable at first
Aha, that's what I was looking for, Joe.
because of the fact that you're being pressed to make a decision and to take a certain course of action. And so at first, I just didn't know which way to go. And I think we find this with most kids, is that they're not used to taking a course, deciding on a course for themselves. They expect to be guided all the way through life. And that's the tough part. I think you feel a little uncomfortable.
Cammy.
Joe was, I think, he was a real good student because I think he's real typical of lot of students are not doing their homework because they don't want to, and to ask them to make a plan to do something that they really don't want to do is kind of painful. And you could see him go through that process of, well, I guess I could reward myself, and well, okay, well, I'll try it, you know, but he was real typical of what most of the students that we deal with.
And that's probably why kids don't do homework so much, huh? I mean, it isn't a fun thing for them to do. They don't want to do it, and they do choose not to do it. It's never an accident. I can see once in a while you'd forget an assignment or something, but not all the time, you know. Yes, Linda?
Well, I kept on saying, I don't want to. And she turned around and made it real interesting and made me see that it wouldn't be fair. And you know how kids react to fairness. They really thrive on fairness. And she made me see that it wouldn't be fair if I didn't do it and everyone else had to in the class.
All right. What about even fair to you?
Well,
You know, I mean, the whole power deficit thing, see? I mean, what you're not becoming that you can become. You can't do what you don't know. And you're saying you don't want to do the homework. Are you saying you don't want to know? You don't want to be effective? You don't want a good job? You don't want people to care about you? Is that what you're telling me? See, and that's not what the kid's saying. But he is saying that. One of the things I hope you'll carry away with you today is the idea that when you're trying to help somebody, people start with their pictures, not their behavior. Start with their pictures. What is it that you want? Behavior is always purposeful. You always do things for a reason. What did you want when you did that? And they'll think you're crazy at first when you start that. But you just hold right on to that and keep at it, and you'll find out that when they fight, they want to be known as a person who stands up for themselves. That's self-esteem, people. Kids like that are battling, scrapping, literally, to develop self-esteem. They need to be something. They need to be important in this world. And I think we need to help them understand, I know you want to be important. You deserve to be important. All people who are alive do. How can I help you be that way? You know, that whole process. Start with the pictures instead of the behavior, the things that they really want. Does it take more time? Yeah. How are you going to get it? Value it. Value it. Value it. That's how you get it. If it's important to you that you help kids take responsible charge of their lives, you'll find ways to do it. You know, we can always do that. I could always free up 3 or 4 minutes to talk with a youngster, even during an academic period.
It's actually going to save time in the long run. Once you start turning the child's behaviors around, you're not going to have disruptions that take up time in the classroom.
Now, and look, you're going away with armament. Not only do you have an idea, but you have pieces of paper that you can use with the kids. You can actually start them on a personal growth plan. I mean, that's a plan you could take home, put on a copy machine, and start using immediately. So if I were trying to get you to stop your fighting, Doris, you would have a replacement behavior, whatever it is that you plan, and we'd just write that out on the form. And tomorrow after school, Pat would want you to come and see her to see how well your plan went all day. I really appreciate your being here. It's marvelous to, your faces have been so rewarding all day long. I mean that very sincerely. It's so much fun to work with a group of people that look as you do. You know, I mean, you're open and you're bright and you're listening and you're conversing and you're doing all the good things. I wish that we could all people a school together. I think that'd be a marvelous thing. We'd make things home, wouldn't we? Thank you so much for being here.